All right, well, welcome to Module 7, where we'll be working with images and integrating other programs with Microsoft Excel. So we'll go to Content and we'll download our start file and a bunch of support files this time. So if we go to Textbook Start Files, down to Module 7, this week you'll see a support 1, 2, 3, a couple of modular exercises and a couple of more modular exercise support files. So we've got to download all of those. We will be using them. So we'll go through, download. And then I'll pull up my download folder. And so we've got right to there. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is open the ILEX7TCS. So it says to save that as a new file. Okay, so I'm going to open up a new file this week. And we're going to go File, Save As. I'm going to put it in my same downloads folder just so it's all together. We're going to call this IL_EX_7 TCS. And now we're going to use this blank file and import a text file first thing. So if we go to the Data tab, on this left-hand side, you'll see getting information from other sources. And there'll be buttons for text, from web, from another range, from a picture, et cetera. Or if you go to the Get Data button on the far left, click the drop down, you've got all kinds of different options where you can get it from. So we're going to be walking through some of these today. And in this case, we're going to get it from a file, and specifically, it's not an Excel file. We want to get it from a text file. So we're going to get this data from a text file. It'll say where from, and it's happened to defaulting to my download folder. And we want to use the support EX7-1 text file that we downloaded. And we'll click import. And it looks at the file and says, hey, I think I know what you want to do. It looks like you want sector and revenue as headers, and you've got this list of information. What kind of delimiter do you have? So here you have tabs, or if it's a comma, you can change that. In this case, you can tell it's not comma. Is it an equal sign, et cetera? And what did I say? This time it's a tab delimiter. And we're going to just hit the load button. Okay, and it pulls in the data accordingly. Over on the right-hand side, because we've now connected this Excel file to another file, on the right-hand side, you'll now have a queries and connection pane. Okay, and it just tells us that it loaded 6 rows. So we'll close that because we're all done with it. Now let's click the Review tab. And we just want to check the spelling because we can see there's a couple spelling mistakes. So just a recap from a previous chapter, we're going to review spelling. We're going to fix the word development. Maybe. There we go. And development is fixed. And we want to rename the sheet to TCS revenue. Again, some of the functions we've done in the past. We're going to format the information in column B, like we did last week, into a counting symbol. So we'll go and click accounting and no decimal places. And we're going to delete the sheet 1, like we've done in the past. And then we're going to click on cell A1 and we'll save our work to date. So when you have text files, shared information, back and forth, sometimes you get that from financial platforms, from banking solutions, whatever that might be. You can easily convert text files into an Excel formatted table. All right, let's move on. So now let's try to get it from another workbook. So we're going to open another file from our downloads. We're going to open the support EX7-2 file. So we've got this other Excel file, and it has some information. And we're going to save it as another file name. So we'll save as. And it's telling us to call it ILEX7 TCS space workbook. Or no, sorry, I clicked I apologize, staff is what we want, ILEX7 staff. We'll hit save. So we've now have this file. Let's go back to the other tab, sorry, to the other worksheet. So we're back in here. And let's go back to the data tab. And in this case, we want to get data button from a workbook. So we'll click get data from a file from another Excel workbook. And let's select that staff book that we just saved, which is where. Interesting. Let's cancel that for a moment. File, save and copy. Where did, it went to my OneDrive. I apologize. Downloads, save. There we go. So we'll go back to get data from a file, from a workbook to this staff file that we saved, and we'll click import. And then because it's an Excel file, it could actually import multiple worksheets if you had multiple. In this case, we're just going to select sheet 1. If you had other sheets, you could select them as well. And it gives us an example of what sheet 1 looks like. And assuming this is good, we're just going to hit the load button. You'll see that it adds a new sheet, okay, and imports the information. Over here on the queries and connection pane, let's hit right click. And in this case, we're going to click edit. Okay, this pulls up the Power Query Editor, which we can have other options, such as we can insert rows, remove rows, we can tell it whether it had headers or not, we can change the data somehow, etc. So if you wanted to change, columns and rows, etc., you can do that through this Power Query Editor. And let's go into the text in the name box over here. We're going to name this table instead of sheet 1. We're going to call it TCS staff. This is the query settings. Okay, let's save that. Let's go to the transform tab for a moment. And we're going to hit rename. We want to name these columns. And we're going to type this as position. Okay, click on column 2. We're going to rename that one. We're going to call that employee. Okay, we'll click the home button. And we'll click the close and load, which therefore any changes we make in here will bring it back into Excel for us. So now you can see it's got position employee and it's called TCS staff. We're going to close the queries and connections, and we're going to rename this worksheet TCS staff. Let's go where Ashley McFadden is, and we realize we have the wrong last name, so we're going to change the word McFadden to be Elwell. Okay, so you can change any of this data. If we go to the data tab, there is a way under queries and connections. So if you update your root data, you can always refresh your connection. So if we hit refresh, you can see that it takes it back to McFadden. Okay. And it looks like, oh, I apologize. Let's go to the other Excel file, the ILEX7. Let's change Ashley McFadden to Ashley Elwell in the root file. This is our ILEX7-staff file. We'll go back to our main file, and now we'll go to the data tab and refresh all, and that'll pull in Ashley Elwell. So just it shows you that it keeps the query connection active. All right, the next step is we're going to show how to import a database table. Under data, we'll get data. And in this case, we want to come from a database, and it's a Microsoft Access database. We've got our support database here, support EX7-3. We'll click import. And similar to the Excel version, you'll see the file listed with the tables that exist in that database. Let's click on projected revenue. It displays what it might look like. Before we hit load, let's go to transform data because we want to, we don't need the IDs. in Access, every row, every item has an ID, but we don't always want that in Excel. So hit Transform Data. That'll pull up the Power Query Editor window where we can make some changes. So with the ID column highlighted, we want to remove that column. Then we only have the sector and revenue. And then if that's all the changes we want, in this case, we can hit Close and Load. And again, it pulls the sector, revenue, etc. Let's go over to column B. We want to format this column to be accounting format, no decimal places again. And we want to change this sheet name to be TCS projected revenue. So now let's click on the TCS revenue worksheet. Let's hold the Shift button over to TCS projected revenue. So we're grouping all sheets. And we're going to go to Insert over on the text side where it says Header and Footer. In the center of the header, we want to put our name. Therefore, it's putting on all tabs like we've done in the previous weeks. Or click inside. Let's change our view back to normal. And then we can click on any sheet to ungroup them. Okay. Again, just using some skills you've learned in prior weeks. All right, let's save this. We're going to continue. We want to open the Word document that we downloaded. So in here, there's an ILEX7-4 file. Let's open that. And we're going to show you how to connect Excel and Word. So enable editing, and we're in this memo. Let's go File, Save As. And we want to call this ILEX7_TCS memo. And we'll click Save. Okay, let's go over to the workbook. And on the TCS projected revenue page, let's highlight A1 to B7. We're going to copy that. So I'm going to hit Control C to copy. Let's go back to the Word document. Hit Control End to go to the bottom. And under the Home tab, you can use Paste or you can hit Control V if you prefer. And in this case, we want to paste using a link and use destination styles. So that'll be right here, link and use destination styles. Okay, let's go to the right edge of the table. You can drag that a little wider so it's not wrapping. Okay, let's save that work so far. There we go. Let's go over to the Excel file. Now let's go to B2. Let's change the 350,000 to 300,000. Say we made some change in the Excel file. Okay, let's go back to the Word document. Yeah, and there's a train, of course. Let's right click on the table. And we want to update the link. And you can see that it updates accordingly. So you could have tables linked to the original Excel file. Very helpful. Let's go to Insert under Header. Header, edit header. And in this case, just says type our name in the header. Okay. And we'll save that, and that's it for Word. It just talks about connecting links. If you ever click on it, you'll see linked object. You can edit the link, you can open the link. Okay, just so if you ever want to find out where it is, you can always go through the link object step. Let's close that file and we're back to the Excel document. All right, similarly, we can link it to PowerPoint. Let's go open a PowerPoint file. Okay, oops, there we go. So I've got a blank PowerPoint file. And actually says to open one. And there is one here, ILEX7-5, so we'll open that. Okay, so this is our PowerPoint file that we want to connect something to. Let's go File, Save As. Let's put it back in my downloads so I know where it is. And in this case, it's ILEX7 underscore management presentation. So now we've got this PowerPoint and we want to connect it to a workbook. Let's go back to our Excel workbook. And we want to go to the TCS projected revenue again. Okay. So select the data in the range A2 to B7. And we want to insert a pie chart. So let's go Insert. Over, remember our pie chart from a previous week. So click the drop down. We want the pie chart. We'll change our elements. We want to go to data labels. And we want to go call out. We want to turn off the legend. Okay. And we want to delete the chart title. So now we just have the data. And now just right click in the chart area and let's copy that. So we're copying the entire chart. Let's go over to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's go to slide 2. And let's right click on the slide. And in this case, we want to paste using destination theme and link data. Let's use destination theme and link data. I'm going to make this bigger so it fills the screen. Obviously not super important, but you can play and connect it. Let's go to the File tab for a moment under Info. On the far right-hand side here, you'll see a button that says Edit Links to Files. And then you'll see that this PowerPoint is connected. Make sure that the automatic update is turned on. So we'll turn that on. And we'll hit Close. And we'll go back to the file and we'll save this PowerPoint. Now let's go back to Excel. So we've got our data here. Let's go to cell B7 and we'll change 185, we'll change it to be 125. You can see this chart updates. Okay, go back to PowerPoint. And so IT support is now 8%. And you can see that it's updated in the PowerPoint file, which is great. Go to slideshow just to see what it looks like. And it's on a different screen, but close enough. Okay. So a way to keep things nice and tidy. All right, let's close that the PowerPoint. We're back to the Excel file. Now let's start Access. So I'll load Microsoft Access, and it's saying let's do a blank database, and let's change the file name location to downloads. And we're going to change the file name to IL_EX_7_TCS revenue. Okay, so now we've got our new database. And let's close this table 1. So we've got nothing in here, but we're not closing Access. Let's go up to the External Data tab. And in this case, we're clicking a new data source, and we want to import and link from another Excel file. So in this case, we want to go from a file, from an Excel file. And we're going to hit Browse to our downloads. And in this case, we want to bring in support EX7-6 that we downloaded at the beginning. We'll click Open. We'll click OK. And now it says, how do you want this formatted? So we've got our worksheet. Okay, it's got the 3 columns. Let's click, let's see, next. First row contains headings. And it's selected. We'll hit next. And it goes, what do you want to do with each of the columns? We'll hit next. We want to choose my own primary key, and the primary key will want it to be signed to the sector ID. We'll click next. What do we want the table to be? And it's called TCS revenue, fine. We'll click finish and close. So now you see on the left-hand side, we have the TCS revenue. Let's click on that. And you'll see the TCS revenue data that's in there. Okay, click on the last row of the table. Let's type 9999 in tab. And then we'll type in your name. Okay, so we can enter a new row. And we'll go File, Save. And we've now imported our first data into Access. All right. And the last thing we're going to do in this chapter is how to import graphic files into a worksheet. So let's go back to our projected revenue tab in Excel. Let's select rows 1 to 6. Okay. We're going to go to Insert, and we want to insert some rows. What's it want us to do? Insert rows. I'm just going to right click and hit insert. So shifted everything down 6 rows. Let's go click on A6. We're going to type in TCS projected revenue. Okay, we'll click enter. And in this case, we want this to be a title style. Okay, so under home, under styles, let's go down to be title. All right, let's click on A1 and we'll go to insert. In this case, we want a picture. You can insert shape, smart art, whatever that might be. We'll do smart art another time, actually. Let's do pictures. And we'll go from this device. And we'll go back to our download file. There was a picture we downloaded at the very beginning. So that was support EX7-7. We'll click insert. So we've got this JCL temp, a JCL talent, and we're going to resize that. I know it's not to scale, but in theory, you can size it to whatever you decide. So we're going to fit it within rows 1 to 5. So if Sam says within rows 1 to 5, make sure you're just inside. Okay, with the image selected, so it's still active, we're going to go to the picture styles more button. And we want to add a bevel rectangle style. If we can find it, bevel rectangle style. So it just kind of edges or rounds the corners a little bit. And then we want to go the theme colors under the picture border. So let's do the drop down. We want a green accent 6. It's one of these over here. Green accent 6, so it adds a little border around the edge. And we want to make a glow, so under picture effects, we want to glow, more glow colors. So under glow, more glow colors. And we want green accent 6 as well here. Adds this little shade around it. You might need to resize again. See how it's hanging over row 6, so we want to resize that again. It's inside. Okay, and that's how we can insert pictures and drag them around and do all that good stuff. And that's it. Take care.